We are back on the Morning Brew with friends, and I love it when our friends from the UNM Cancer Center come on, because you guys always have some just amazing, mind-blowing research you guys are doing at the UNM Cancer Center. This is Dr. Richard Lauer. You're the Chief Medical Officer for the UNM Cancer Center.
That's correct.
And that means you are in charge of the entire Cancer Center.
Not the entire cancer, the clinical enterprise.
The clinical
There's
enterprise.
the basic science research and the clinical part, and I'm responsible for the clinical part.
And you guys are doing some cool stuff right now with kidney research and kidney cancer research.
That's right. We have a new trial, which is a cutting-edge, innovative vaccine. It's the first of its kind.
Wait, when you say vaccine, does that mean it can actually prevent kidney cancer?
So,
like, I think of vaccines like stuff like the smallpox vaccine and polio vaccines.
Right. This is a vaccine that actually turns on the patient's own immune system to kill the cancer.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty neat.
So this is, right now it's for kids. You guys are doing a clinical trial right now.
Right, that's right, in kidney cancer.
And how long does that take? I mean, this is not an overnight thing, right?
So the trial, we follow the patients for years. The actual therapeutic intervention is for months.
Okay. And then how long till it gets, like, I guess, FDA approval for something like this? I mean, is this a 12-year thing, 15-year thing?
Probably a 4 or 5 year thing before we know that it really works. And if it really works, we would submit to the FDA for approval.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's like solving cancer in Albuquerque. This isn't the only thing. And I know that you guys are working with personalized medicine, which just, to me, is like the new frontier in everything. Because you guys can look at my DNA, what is in me, and then say, this is a specific cancer that somebody has, and have my own body's immune system just tackle that.
Right. We actually can now sequence the entire human genome for a person for $900.
That sounds, that's just amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
And then how do you know, though? I mean, I've seen the reports, like there's billions of like little letters in the DNA sequence.
Right.
How do you know which one of those is the cancer letter?
So you need big computers that crunch all that data and compares it to what is supposed to be and shows where there are changes.
Okay. And then with the changes, then you can say, okay, this change X means vaccine Y.
Well, so that's a separate thing from the vaccines. But for gene sequences, we actually have drugs where we know a specific defect may respond to a specific drug. So we're getting to the point where we can actually look at a person's tumor and say, aha, this has this specific defect, and we can treat it with this specific drug. Some cancers, for example, a lung cancer, may have 20, 30, 40 different types of defects, so knowing which specific one is active is important.
Right, no doubt. So this is, what I think is amazing about the research you guys do is it pays for other research, really, right? And you guys, it's federal grants, it's drug company money that comes in to support all of this research. But that's getting harder and harder to find, isn't it?
So we believe that clinical trials is sort of basic to the treatment of cancer patients. We are intrinsically dissatisfied with the treatment of cancer. So we're committed.
Is it that bad?
It is that bad. So we are committed to trying to help both our patients and future patients by doing clinical trials. And we fund that both from clinical revenues, from federal money, from state money, from university money. We seek money anywhere we can get it to help move these trials forward.
Right. How many of these things are you doing at just on your side? I'm sure there's
more than 100? So at the UNM Cancer Center, we're talking like a couple hundred, like 200 trials at any given time.
Wow, that's amazing. So what do you think the chances of actually solving the cancer puzzle are? I mean, do you think we're like that close, or are we still like that close?
So cancer is such a complex entity. I think my personal feeling is that what's going to happen is we will solve specific cancers. You know, right now in testicular cancer, there's a 98% cure rate if you can get it early. So I think that individual cancers, but I don't think there's going to be one single cure that's going to take care of it. So I think it's going to continue to be a problem for our lifetime.
Really? Because we hear so many just great advances in research on this.
Right.
But where are we today versus, I don't know, where we were 20 years ago? I mean, are we just light years ahead of where we were 20 years ago, or has it just been baby steps?
So 20 years ago, we didn't have a clue as to what cancer was. And a lot of the advances that you hear about in the media are the fact that we're beginning to understand what cancer is finally. And for the first time, we're actually designing treatments based upon our understanding. So it's an extremely exciting time, but it's not translated into a global cure rate. Still, you know, the number of people that die from cancer is less than it used to be, but it's still unacceptable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyone dying from anything is unacceptable, I guess, right?
Right.
So how did you get into researching this?
So I've been a cancer doctor for 30 years. I actually started and decided to become a physician, and I trained under one of the leading guys in the world who was a GU oncologist, and I sort of followed in his footsteps.
Cool. Where was that?
That was at Indiana University.
Indiana. Is that I'm not up on my medical world stuff. Is that a great school? Is that is that one of like the leading cancer places as well?
It's one of the leading cancer places. It's a very good university, but their cancer program is special.
Cool. So what is it about cancer in you? I mean, what made that interesting? Is it the puzzle part of it? Is it the mortality rate part of it, or is it the care part of it?
So I think that the biology is extremely interesting and the science is really interesting, but what attracts me is that you meet people who are nice people and they got struck by lightning. They did nothing wrong, and all of a sudden they're facing this horrible thing, and we can help them. Even if we can't cure them, we can help them.
Right. Right. So what do you think, is personalized medicine really going to be the next frontier in all of this? Or are there still some traditional, like I always think of chemotherapy, radiation therapy, that kind of stuff, or is that still going to be the standard of care for a long, long time?
So I think that radiation and chemo helps people. It doesn't do as good as we want. I think it's going to be the standard of care. I think personalized medicine has lots of excitement around it. It's still unclear how it's going to end up. I mean, what's value it's going to be, and where it's going to help. We don't know that yet.
Because it could be not just cancer; it could be almost anything. Right?
That's exactly right. And it's showing up in places like diabetes and arthritis and other places. And I think that the new technologies are going to change how we approach things, but how it's going to end up, we don't know yet.
Yeah. So this research can actually translate into diabetics and
sure.
other things?
This type of research, yes.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that there's a tremendous explosion of knowledge right now. And it's very hard when you're in the middle of an explosion to know where it's going to end up.
Right,
But I think that
you're like at the epicenter of this
right,
thing
I mean, the
moving.
stuff we're talking about now was stuff that, 10 years ago we had no idea about. I mean, we had no concept of these understandings of the
We
cancer.
heard about, when they first sequenced the human genome and how big a deal that was. And I think it was lost on a lot of people, myself included. I was like, cool, I know what I'm made of. But I didn't realize that you could actually find out also what I shouldn't be made of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that cost hundreds of millions of dollars and took years, and now we do it for $800 in a couple hours. I mean, that's the amazing thing. Yeah.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So where do you think the next frontiers are in this kind of research you guys are doing at UNM? I know this is you're working on like a stage 3 right now, which is kind of the last step in all of this before approval. What are some of the weird and awesome maybe stage 1 things you're looking at?
Well, I think that ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to walk into the doctor's office, they're going to draw a tube of blood, and they're going to say, you are susceptible to the following cancers.
Wow.
And then they will either monitor you for that cancer or they'll prevent that cancer. I think that's the future.
Just give you the vaccine right away.
I think that's the future, is everybody will get, I think we'll all walk around with a chip and that'll have our entire gene sequence on it. And we go to the emergency room, we'll hand them our chip and they'll actually see what we are made up of genetically. I think we'll all have our gene sequence with us at some point.
That's amazing. I want to get it done just to see like what I'm made of anyway, It'd just be fun,
Yeah.
Well, great. We're going to be back in a couple of seconds. We have our friends from both Mark Pardo and the United Way here, and they got a whole new partnership that we can't wait to talk about, too. You can stick around?
I'll try.
All right. On the Morning Brew with Friends.